Wells didn't make it across. We've got Fusco, who didn't make it across, but of course we saw his incident earlier on. Buazri didn't make it across either, so I wonder if he was the other rider involved down at turn 3 in that incident that we saw shortly before the stoppage. As we see, at least to see a little bit of movement from him as he lied on the track, but clearly in a great deal of pain. And of course, any updates on his condition, we'll bring you them as soon as we get them.
Yeah, exactly right, Lewis. They're just having a chat with the race directors there, who have gone round to see what's happened. Yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed that the rider involved is okay. And yeah, like we say, we've not really had any information in the commentary box, so we'll bring it to you as soon as possible. But it's at the worst place, really. We've mentioned it, Lewis. It's the worst place possible on a roller coaster of a track. It's a completely blind entry. So yeah, a massive, obviously, shock to the system for the riders coming over the crest of the hill, not seeing any yellow flags, just seeing the marshals standing at the side of the track, waving across. But the riders now back in the pit boxes will be debriefed with the teams at the start of the race.
So let's update you then on what's likely to happen next once everything has been taken care of with the injured rider and he receives the treatment that he needs out on track. Quick restart will most likely be deployed, which will involve a 1-minute window where the riders can get out of the pits and back out onto track for what will essentially be their sighting lap before they pull up on the grid for the warm-up lap. And we haven't had it confirmed yet, but we would expect it to be 2/3 of the original distance that they will race under when they do resume. Of course, we've got no news yet on an expected restart time just yet. Of course, once we have that, we'll confirm that to you as well. But yeah, we'll expect a 2/3 race distance when we get underway, which will be around 12 laps once we get underway once again. But as I say, quick restart will most likely be deployed, but once we have that time for you and the likely restart time and new race distance, we'll bring that to you as soon as we get it.
So if our timing screens are correct, it'll be Joel Kelso who led over the line on the last completed lap. So that'll mean he starts from pole position. There's Ivan Ortola.
It's a good point that on the grid actually, because Holgado got up to second before the red flag, so he's been suddenly in a very good position for the restart of the race. So he's poor qualifying. There you see the marshals setting out the spots. The 96 I can see there is back on at least the third row. It looks like the original grid spots that they're setting up there, with Ortola second and Garcia third. So we'll confirm that, because I think we're far enough into the race. We completed 3 laps, so I'd imagine we're far enough into the race where they wouldn't go back to the original grid. But again, we'll confirm that when we confirm that. Another thing that is worth pointing out, and I know it's not at the forefront of anyone's minds just at the moment, as we keep our fingers crossed for the rider who's now in the ambulance looking to receive treatment, is that Jose Julian Garcia hadn't taken his long lap penalty yet in that race. And obviously it's a bit of a moot point now, but I would have assumed if he'd taken his long lap penalty before the red flag, he wouldn't have had to serve it again in the restart. He would have got the penalty out of the way. He would have probably been starting deep on the grid for the restart, probably outside the top 10. But the fact is, he's now going to have to start. If he starts from his original grid slot, he's third. If not, he's fourth on the grid, because that's where he was on the last complete lap before the red flag. And he still has a long lap penalty to serve, and in a shorter race with less time to make the ground back up.
Yeah, it's the thing, Lewis, isn't it? I think he had a couple of chances, at least 1 lap to do it. He didn't decide to, which is completely up to the riding team. I'm sure they spoke about it before the race, when was best to do it, in what situation. If he was leading the race, maybe dive in at the first opportunity. If he's in the thick of it, maybe try another lap to try and get a little bit of an advantage. But yeah, it's a good point, Lewis. So he'll have to take a long lap penalty. He's 4th on our timing screen, so it'll be interesting to see, especially in Holgado's case, if they do revert back to the original grid order. Because if they don't, Holgado will start second, which of course is a much better position than P9, and gives him a chance to take the whole shot from Kelso. And when he did lead the race, we did see him start to edge clear. So riders involved: number 16, that's Mario Aji; number 21 is Harrison Voigt; number 23 is David Real.
So you wonder whether Harrison Voigt was the rider who initially brought out the hazard with the marshals on track, because we did get the notification on screen that Harrison Voigt had crashed prior to that incident. Of course, we didn't get a notification of which corner that was. So clearly he crashed there and was on the track, or the marshals were on the track treating him at that point, and that's what the riders came across as they came over that blind crest at that point in the track. So yeah, those are the 3 riders involved. Of course, we'll bring you updates as we get them on their condition. We did see Mario Aji up on his feet at the side of the racetrack. So yeah, he's clearly okay. It's perhaps the wrong word to use, but he was up on his feet, and no serious injuries there for him. And of course, we'll confirm the situation of the other 2 riders as soon as we have some official information on that. But no news yet on a restart time. But interestingly, the marshals have now taken away those markers that they'd set up on the grid. So perhaps they've been given some information that perhaps they weren't quite putting them in the right spot.
Yeah, you had to think they would go to the last completed lap. I think that's once you've completed.
I think it's 2 laps.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I think it's 2 laps, and obviously they crossed the line to complete the 3rd lap before encountering the issues. The marshal was just sweeping away some debris on the side of the track. And yeah, the race direction guys just checking everything's okay with the circuit. And yeah, so it looked like it was Harrison Voigt who was the rider getting attended to. So we'll send our best wishes, of course, to Harrison Voigt, the Australian. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. We did see him moving, which is obviously a very positive sign to start with, but fingers crossed it's nothing too serious. As we wait to get back underway here at the Algarve International Circuit. MT Foundation 77 garage. That's Gerard.
And rounding out the grid, David Alonso, double winner here in Red Bull Rookies earlier this season. He started. He is, look.
Warmer, didn't you, Lewis? Kelso Ogden over the crest. It's good news then for David Munoz. Lights are off and away we go. It looks like Ortola's got a perfect start in the middle of the second row. Joe Kelso just slightly off, slowly there. Down into turn 1 it is. Ortola for the middle of the front row who gets the whole shot. Kelso just looks up there on the inside. Keeps P2, so not a complete disaster for the pole sitter, but it's Ortola making the best move. I think that's Moreira into, no it's not, it's Rueda into 3rd place, and that's tight there from Asman. Just touching the back of Garcia. Thankfully they're all through safe and clean. I think at the back, yes they are, but it's Ivan Ortola who leads the way from Joel Kelso. Actually, it's now Joel Kelso who leads the way from Ortola, so not sure what happened there just out screen.
Yeah, Holgado got his elbows out straight away. I think he's up in 7th place. I think he's actually dropped 1 to 8th, but he got a decent start. Not a particularly special start off the line, but he got a couple at the inside into turn 1. I think he lost one of those when he went slightly wide at turn 3, but Holgado trying to make his way through. You can see him just at the back of the screen, the red gas Aspar bike with the yellow crash helmet as he tries to pick his way through. There he is just going through the frame. So he's trying to make his way through. Kelso, though, leads it early on, converting pole position into that good start. There's the 55 of Detweiler who goes through the screen. But there's Holgado trying to make his way through. He's behind one of the Munozes. That should be David Munoz, I'd have thought, who started just ahead of him on the grid after his hiccup on the warm-up lap.
It is Moreira in 3rd. I got that wrong earlier on. So Moreira is in 3rd, making 1 place up from his grid place in P4. But yeah, Kelso, not sure what happened to Ortola there on the 1st lap. He led into turn 1, led out of turn 3, and then we just panned to somewhere different. So a little bit of an error maybe from Ortola as Joel Kelso now leads the way, and he will lead over the line. You suspect on the 1st lap he's got a little bit of a healthy margin there. It's been around the final corner. So Kelso's getting the hammer down already. And so that's Moreira going up the inside of Ortola at the final corner. It's a complete lap 1. It's Joel Kelso leading the way. But is he going to get drafted down the front straight? I think he might do. That's Garcia, Moreira and Ortola in picture. Who is going to lead into turn 1? Is it Asman down the outside? What a move there from the Barcelona race winner. He leads into turn 1 on lap 2.
Yeah, quick update on the riders out of position off the line. Scott Ogden has made ground on the 1st lap. He's up to 16th. And David Alonso, 28th, up to 20th. 8 places gained on the 1st lap for him.
Important progress then for Scott Ogden and David Alonso. Plenty of work still to do though for the British rider and the Colombian as a familiar face watches on. That's Pedro Acosta. He was watching trackside yesterday. We saw him yesterday, didn't he, Lewis?
Yeah.
They'll be taking some tips from Pedro Acosta, who won in this class in 2020 and then obviously won the race here a few months ago.
Yeah, I'd say he's moved up in the world since then.
He most certainly has, hasn't he? Most certainly has. So then,
race starts, but
Aji.
it's his worst qualifying this weekend since this round last year. So clearly Portimao not a particularly favourable track for him, but keep an eye on him now. You can see him now on the left of screen as he pulls out the slipstream. Where will he be as Garcia takes lead? Holgado all the way up to second.
Fastest lap of the race for Daniel Holgado, the World Championship leader. So in just a couple of laps he's made his way up to second in the race. So
and you'd have to say he's the net leader with Garcia ahead of him.
Yes, that's very true. Very true. So yeah, remember, as we mentioned, Garcia's got to take a long lap. He'll surely be taking it soon, just to try and get it out of the way, because you don't want to leave it too long to take it, because then you're just going to lose ground. But there he is, Holgado, making a move down into turn 5. Will he make it sick? I think he will.
Also, has perhaps recognised that he's the danger man, because as soon as Fusco and Watley for other with Holgado.
Yeah, on the outside there, Joel Kelso with Holgado. His elbows out there down the front straight. I think a little bit of a moment on the front end there cost Holgado time. He's absolutely got swamped as Harrison Voigt, the Australians, crashed out. That's a shame for the number 21. Let's keep our fingers crossed that he's okay. Not sure where the Australian's gone down, but we've got a change of the lead again. It's one of the Australian Glitfiers. It's Moreira from Moreira up the inside at turn 3. Where's Holgado dropped to? It's a crash in the background. A few riders went down there. Can't quite see who, but there's at least 2 riders. Not sure who that was. I'm sure we'll pan back in a moment. It's one of the TMs, and that looks like one of the
Salvador,
team riders.
It's either Salvador or Fusco who's involved in there. So we're looking as they come through the first sector. Two comes through there. It's the 69er Fusco who's gone down, unfortunately. So his race certainly is a points contender. Would appear to be over.
What's this? What's happening here? Oh God!
Incident there. Yeah, I think we're going to have a red flag here for that.
Must be a red flag. Has to be a red flag.
Get out of the way of that. That looks like one of the boards that they put down when they're treating an injured rider. It looks like one of those sort of physio sort of pads that they've got on the racetrack at the moment. We'll keep an eye on that, but we'd expect a red flag to come out as a result of that. Out in front, there's red flag has now come out on the timing screens, and no great surprise after that. Of course, we'll keep an eye on the situation with the riders who were down. We didn't actually see what happened in the lead up to that, but we saw marshals waving at the riders. But we didn't see any yellow flags out, curiously, so we're not quite sure what had gone on there.
Yeah, really not sure what happened there, but who's 5th in the champion? Steve Lewis and not
anything, in the middle of the track. All you can see is the sky, and even when you go over bike, it's too late, unfortunately. Either that is machine or something.
Time to react. So hopefully all riders are okay. We'll bring you information on that when we get it.
Riders favoured, instantly distracted. The rider, marshals rush out to a rider who's in
moving, so that's a good sign at least. Not sure who that is yet.
Protect the rider in going on. But Watsri didn't make a but clearly in a great deal.
It's okay. The yellow flags.
We completed 3 laps.
You have to think the likes of
and if you do watch the action from, particularly from the Saxon Ring, make sure you watch the final few stages of that race. It was quite extraordinary for the championship contenders who.
So if you haven't team riders,
he's another rider who's lost out a little bit in there. All unequal machinery, all going for it. And it is interesting, isn't it, how different the standings can be from one class to another. Of course, David Alonso, who's
Van Ortola.
It's a good point that on the
What's the line? 18th is going to be shuffled back down to 26. So the hard work to do again for the Colombian.
In the lead up to that, but
flag. What's this? What's happening here? Oh God!
Oh, incident there. Yeah, I think we're going to have a red flag here for that.
Must be a red flag. Has to be a red flag.
Get out of the way of that. That looks like one of the boards that they put down when they're treating an injured rider. It looks like one of those sort of physio sort of pads that they've got on the racetrack at the moment. We'll keep an eye on that, but we'd expect a red flag to come out as a result of that. Out in front, there's red flag has now come out on the timing screens, and no great surprise after that. Of course, we'll keep an eye on the situation with the riders who were down. We didn't actually see what had happened in the lead up to that, but we saw marshals waving at the riders. But we didn't keep an eye on that, but we'd expect.
Oh God!
Oh, incident there. Yeah, I think we're going to have a red flag here for that.
Must be a red flag. Has to be a red flag.
Get out of the way of that. That looks like one of the boards that they put down when they're treating an injured rider.
End of your race with just 10 laps on offer.
Yeah, exactly. So David Munoz will be double checking that motorcycle's running.
Kita doain semoga Mario Aji tidak kenapa-napa ya. Tadi lihat tayangan ulangnya dia jatuh langsung lari ke pinggir. Tapi siapa yang diangkut ke ambulan ya? Tadi lagi baru awal start, tiba-tiba paket habis lah. Saya langsung beli paket yang 5.000 tuh. menit Mario Aji
running as he gets on it where to park essentially for the warm lap, and then they'll head straight off once everyone's in position, straight onto the warm-up lap and then straight into the race. So there'll be no long build up to the race here. They'll be straight on with the action once they head out of pit lane, which opens in 1 second.
With Daniel Holgado when he threatened to break clear, and as we've mentioned at the top of the show, Lewis Kelso has really come on form in Portimao this weekend. Like you said earlier, it does make you wonder when a rider has a couple of events on the Grand Prix scene. Obviously you're going to learn so much being around the Moto3 World Championship riders, or the levels a little bit above the fastest riders in the world on the fastest track.
The best way to improve is to compete against people better than you, because it gives you a perfect reference to learn from. And when you're racing alongside the likes of Pedro Costa, who's just ripping up the record books in the Moto3 World Championship at the moment this season, a rider who we've already seen is here this weekend. It just raises your level because you see what these guys are doing on a day-to-day basis, and it just gives you that reference to learn from. And Kelso, he didn't disgrace himself at all in his Grand Prix appearances. He was more than competitive. Did get himself to a little bit of trouble at Assen, had to serve a penalty there. As we see the 13 of Tapia going through the long lap penalty lane. Of course, that's where we're going to see Jose Julian Garcia very shortly. There he is now. That's not his long lap penalty, despite perhaps what his fans might hope. He'll have to go through there again in the very early stages of the race. It'll cost you around 3 seconds to go through there. So Garcia will want to take that as soon as possible and try and keep himself in touch with what is likely to be a pretty frenetic front group.
Unless your name is Johan Zarco, it does cost you around 3 seconds, but if you've been studying the Frenchman or watched the 2020 Czech Grand Prix, then you'll know what I'm talking about. That's just about as perfect long lap penalty lane you're going to get. So the riders then come to the start and finish line. Not sure what that was waving across in the background of the track. Hopefully there's nothing on track debris-wise. There is the Championship Holgado, I'll put my teeth in. He's got work to do again from the grid, but he did it in the opening exchanges of the original race start. Can he do it again when the lights go out here? There's your pole sitter Kelso. They'll line up on the grid for seconds really. Have a quick chat with their team member, give them a good look, and they'll be back on a warm-up lap, and then we'll be going again. There's the number 63 of Sire Ifedin. I think all the riders who are able to take part are there on the grid. 30 seconds.
Aji Crash.
I think that was the quickest 30 seconds of my life, but here we go then. Warm-up lap underway. What are we going to witness in the 10-lap dash?
Oh, ini ada alhamdulillah. Ada enggak ya?
You've got a few, but
Aji.
predictions in the Moto3 classes, it's not impossible.
Yeah, it's fraught with danger, I would have said. I mean, Holgado obviously is
Kita
trying
lihat
to keep an eye
komentar.
on from 9th on the grid. He was so ruthless and clinical in the early stages of the original start to get through the field as quickly as he did. And he's going to have to be aggressive. As I mentioned, there's no time in a race of this short distance to be patient. You've just got to go for it. Temperature climbing here now up to 27 degrees. It's a pretty hot day. You know, certainly if you're two Englishmen as we are, these are temperatures that we very rarely experience. So yeah, these are perfect conditions really for some motorcycle racing. And yeah, it's going to be a fast-paced race that we've got ahead of us. 10 laps. And yeah, as I say, Holgado's the rider to watch from 9th on the grid. He's going to try and make that ground early on and get himself into that leading group before already gaps appear in it. And Garcia is the other rider to keep an eye on. Long lap penalty to serve very early in the race. Can he either get out front early on and try and minimise the damage, or can he make up that ground quickly once he does serve the penalty?
So Holgado, the championship leader, then, as a recap, is 53 points clear of Ivan Ortola in second place, who has 7 points in his pocket ahead of David Munoz in third place, who is 60 points behind Daniel Holgado. So as we mentioned before, this really is an opportunity for the likes of Ortola and Munoz and everyone else vying for the top positions in the championship to really try and reel in Daniel Holgado, who is the runaway leader in this Junior World Championship in 2021. So yeah, the 10-lap dash is going to be feisty, it's going to be thrilling, but who will come out on top? Nobody knows at the minute, but we're going to know in around about 20 minutes or so, maybe less. It's going to be an excellent race. Who will win it?
Onto the grid they come. Then reminder of the championship situation then. Holgado leads it by 53 points from Ivan Ortola, who starts second. David Munoz is 7 points further back in third, with David Salvador 8 points behind Munoz in fourth. Holgado, of course, with that championship lead, it's a big opportunity for Ortola if he can convert that second place on the grid to try and close that gap. Joel Kelso, back in 18th in the championship, he's only had an 8th and an 11th so far this season, but he's certainly in good position to improve on that this afternoon.
Here we go then. The riders taking their position on the grid. There's Holgado, the number 96. There's Garcia, long lap penalty come in for Garcia, the number 20. There's Kelso, the pole sitter once again. David Munoz, what can he do from 6th on the grid? The red flag clears, the lights will come on, the green flag waves in the background, and we're nearly ready to go here. And we're underway once again in the Moto3 Junior World Championship, and once again it's Ivan Ortola who looks like he's got the best start from the middle of the front row. Joel Kelso getting away okay-ish to slot into second. There's Asman again, once again getting a good start, but it's Ivan Ortola who grabs the whole shot from pole sitter Kelso. Asman slots into third. That's Garcia going up the inside of Moreira into fourth place into turn 3. I think we're all okay at the minute. Where's Holgado? I think he's made it decent.
Yeah, he's getting at least 2. He's just on the inside there of David Munoz. He was in 7th as he came through the first corner after getting a couple off the line, but I think that will now be 6th as they come down towards turn 5. It's the 24 then of Ortola that leads with Kelso just behind, and it is indeed, well, it was Holgado in 7th, but he's just been eased wide again by Munoz. Back down to 7th for Holgado. They're not letting him through as easily this time.
No, there's certainly not. Work to do then for Holgado down into turn 5, but it's Ortola then leading the way. He led the way in the original race start, then got picked off on the run into turn 5 by Joel Kelso, who slipped down the order. Where's Joel Kelso gone? There he is. He's now behind Holgado, so I'm not sure what happened to Kelso there. He was running in second place, was the pole sitter, and now he's back down to about 8th or 9th, so not sure what happened to the Australian there, and he's got the number 69 TM rider at the company. Whoa, that was close going down the hill, but all safe and sound at the minute. Ortola leading up into turn 13. It's Asman making another good start from the second row, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Garcia still holds his third position off the line then. The 92 of Moreira is 4th. That's where he started this race. Holgado then in a good position at the moment. He's just 1, 2, 3, he's about 6th along in that leading group, which is where he was at the end of the first lap in the original start. So he's going to be in a pretty good position on the slipstream here, as wide goes the leader, Ortola, and loses the lead over across the line, although he'll now be right in the slipstream of Saifuddin Azman as they come across the line. 3, 4 abreast they go. Moreira up the inside. Garcia looks like he's going to lead this one, and he is, as the 64 of David Munoz comes through into 3rd position. Across the line, Holgado came through in 7th. He lost the place to Kelso as they came across the line, although that could quite easily have changed because it's changing corner by corner here.
It really is. David Munoz there backing it into turn 3. I thought he was going to dive up the inside. Oh, here we go then. Incorrect grid position for rider 64. That's David Munoz. He's got a long lap penalty. So what happened there then on the grid? Incorrect grid position. He's just been picked off by Ivan Artolu. He's the first of the 2 purple bikes. That was close in the background. Who was that? And he's down. That's one of the junior talent team bikes, I think it is. Can't quite see who it is from the side of the bike there, but yes. So drama in the championship chase. It's 33. That is Tashkorn Barazri. After his best qualifying result of 21, it's disaster for Barazri, unlucky for the Thai rider.
I can only assume for David Munoz. I wouldn't have imagined he'd be in the wrong grid slot because he was starting 6th on the outside of the 2nd row, so he would have a good job getting the wrong grid slot from there. I can only assume he was starting ahead of his grid position and slightly out of his grid slot, which is, you know, is illegal. You're not allowed to do that. He's trying to make the most of it now and get himself up to 2nd place and minimise the damage of that. But yeah, that's a pretty fundamental error, that one, to not have yourself parked correctly on the grid. Garcia has been given his long lap penalty now on the timing screens as he now goes up the inside, and I think he's going to lead this one over the line now as they're fanning out, fighting for position. Interestingly as well, the other 2 riders who had long lap penalties, Fusco and Watley, we didn't see them take their long lap penalties earlier in the first race, but they have got to serve it again in this one.
Yeah, Fusco there, number 69, right behind Jose Julian Garcia and right next to David Munoz. So all 3 of those riders have got to take a long lap penalty. Who's going to lead into turn 1? I have no idea. There's about 10 riders abreast. Even Ortola looks like he's going to do it. David Munoz at the inside, but it is Ivan Ortola who slots in, and it is that Daniel Holgado up into 3rd place. I think it is David Alonso, the Colombian, fastest lap of the race. Where is David Alonso across the line? He's up to 16th from 28th, so a great opening couple of laps in the restart for David Alonso. He's just behind teammate Scott Ogden.
See Marcos Ariarte there on the 89 of the Glees bike with the bright yellow wheels. He went right around the outside of about 4 of them into turn 1. He came across the line in 12th. I can guarantee you he's higher than that now as they came through the first sector. An incredible brave. There's another few riders down at turn 5. It's really bottling up here. With these this opening couple laps of the race, the grid, the field is just closing up, and it's just leading to 1 or 2 collisions as they jockey around for position.
Yeah, not sure who that was going down at turn 5. We've seen a few incidents down at turn 5 today. It really is a bottleneck corner. It sucks you in, and it's easy to go down. Diogo Moreira's crash. So Diogo Moreira was one of those riders, 12th in the championship. Diogo Moreira starting 4th. Was on pole position here in the Red Bull Rookies. Thankfully he's up and okay. He's trying to get the bike restarted for that's disaster for Diogo Moreira then. So he was one of the riders involved. It looked like there was a few of them, although Moreira looks like the only one to have gone down.
Yeah, we're looking at Matsuyama's not coming through the 2nd sector either, so I wonder whether he was involved as well. Fastest rider on track, David Alonso. Fastest lap of the race last time round. He's already up to 16th from 28th on the grid. He was the only rider in the 149s that last time round. And when you consider that the leaders were doing 151s, it tells you that Alonso is racing through the pack at a rapid rate of knots.
Yeah, confirmation then. Takuma Matsuyama, the junior talent team rider, has crashed out as well. I think that was at the same incident at turn 5. We're not seeing pictures there. Hopefully Matsuyama's okay, as we have a new race leader in Daniel Holgado. You can see the 2 Aspar junior riders at the back of your screen there. That's Ogden and David Alonso, who is the fastest rider on track. There you go. Alonso and Ogden right at the back of this group. So they're in contention.
Both in the points already.
Yeah. And their teammate, the championship leader, is now at the front again. What we're getting a replay of here. It's okay, so this is what happened down at turn 5. Just seen the end of it. Didn't quite see how it occurred. But yeah, there you can see Matsuyama and Diogo Moreira going down at turn 5. Thankfully, both riders okay, which is the main thing. Just seen the end of it. Didn't quite see how it occurred. But yeah, there you can see Matsuyama and Diogo gone next time around to try and make amends.
55.6 on that last lap, drops all the way down to 28. So I would imagine to get badly held up in that incident.
From Rueda, and they've got a little bit of a gap to Ivan Ortola. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Maybe when we were looking at the replay of the Moreira-Matsuyama crash, something happened, but Holgado and Rueda then have got a little bit of a gap. Interesting to see what it is over line. It looks to at least be half a second, so if they don't beat each other up too much, this could really spell bad news for the chasing pack, especially Ortola, who, remember, is second in the championships. Holgado. There's Fusco taking his long lap penalty, the number 69. Just about keeps it in between the white lines. If they don't keep it in between them white lines, he's wide on the exit, then they have to redo the long lap penalty. So I think that was all okay.
Yeah, and I don't think we saw it on screen, but I'm imagining Garcia's, well, I'm not sure Garcia's taking his actually, because he's down in 13th, but he's still only 1.4 seconds off the lead. So I'd be surprised if he's taken his penalty yet. David Alonso is now up into 13th position, and again, he's continuing to lap faster than most of the riders ahead of him, so he is steaming through the pack. As we keep an eye on the leaders, Holgado has now got Ortola ahead of him, so that little break for the leading two didn't last long at all.
No, it didn't. The slipstream effect coming into full play there. I think it was David Munoz down the front straight there, getting a little bit out of shape. Incidentally, I don't think he's taken his long lap either. So, yeah, David Munoz currently in fourth. Well, he was in fourth place over line. He's been shuffled back to about 7th place at now, just ahead of teammate Daniel Munoz. It's still Holgado leading then. He fought his way back up the inside of Ortola at turn 3, and Ortola's now slipped down to 4th place. Behind the number 89, that's Marcos Uriarte.
Yeah, he's up to 3rd now. He got on the podium here in Red Bull Rookies back in April, so he's got some form around here. Pole position in Rookies at Mugello as well this season, so this is a rider really on the rise, and he's come from 11th on the grid. I mentioned earlier on that he was putting in some rather brave overtaking attempts down into turn 1. He's now right in contention here with his leading two. He's got the 64, David Munoz is slightly further back. He's got the 84 just behind him. Well, Van der Gorberg is in this group as well. He's having a good race so far. But yeah, there's just so many riders in this leading group. It's Ortola next along. I'll get the rider right eventually. But yeah, there's so many riders in this leading group. 1.6 seconds covers the top 14 at the moment. And as I say, we're coming up to half distance now. 4 laps completed. This will be the end of lap 5. Half the race still to go.
Who's going to lead over line? I think it's Holgado, but I can assure you he's probably not going to lead in turn 1 with the slipstream. Marcos Uriarte tucked up right behind the Gas rider. They fan out heading into turn 1. Marcos Uriarte on the outside. Who's going to break legs? It is Holgado who keeps the lead into turn 1. So important there for Holgado. But there's so many riders in this gaggle. Like you say, Lewis, any one of these riders could win. Let's have a look at where Alonso is over line. He's 11th now, so good progress from him and teammate Scott Ogden. They're just at the back of this group somewhere. So yeah, good progress. Joel Kelso's down in 8th place. This is all going to change in the last 5 laps.
Yeah, Kelso got a bit boxed in into turn 1 that time around. He's struggling to make progress as Munoz gets his elbows out into turn 5, and that's really cost Garcia badly, and he's still to take his long lap penalty. So if his plan was to try and build up a bit of time early on so he would minimise the damage of our long lap penalty, it's certainly not worked for the 658 rider. And this is a crucial phase of the race now, because Holgado once again has managed to get himself out front. Uriarte next along. But Holgado, the last thing that they can afford to do is let Holgado get into a rhythm out front, and they can't just rely on the slipstream pulling them back into contention on the main straight, because if they let Holgado get too far away, that won't have the same effect.
No, exactly. They need to be close enough before the slipstream to try and overtake, instead of trying to use the slipstream just to get onto the back of Holgado, but then Holgado to just streak clear again over the lap. But Uriarte's done well here in the 3rd sector to claw in the advantage. So then Garcia does take the long lap penalty. All nice and tidy, I think, there from the Spaniard. Yes, it was. So where does he come out? I think he'll be outside the points yet. That's Sho Nishimura. He's just
16th he'll be
out of. So yes, Sho Nishimura then 16th.
Nishimura, who's the fastest rider on track, by the way.
Yeah, amazing stuff, amazing stuff. So Uriarte then in the slipstream, Daniel Holgado. Importantly, Holgado leads over the line. So Uriarte not close enough to lead over the line. That will be important in the latter stage of the race, especially on the last lap. But it's not either of them who's going to lead into turn 1. It's Jose Antonio Rueda.
Alonso is now into the top 10 on the Aspar Gas, bringing along his European Talent sparring partner from last year, Van den Gorberg, who's just behind him in 11th. Holgado tries to take the lead back, but he's quickly answered back by Rueda, who's putting a good showing here. He's He's putting one of his best showings that we've seen in this championship, and he's already building out a bit of a gap over Holgado. We saw Holgado lose a bit of time in the final sector of the lap. Whether that was just the chasing pack being particularly strong through there, or whether in fact it was a bit weak through there, we're perhaps going to find out. It's already got a bit of a gap. With just only 3.5 laps to go now, any slight break here could make all the difference.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen Holgado try and break clear a couple of times now, and he has been able to build that gap up, but just when you think he might be able to break the slipstream, the rider's really back in again. Raider's doing a little bit of a similar thing here, not quite to the same effect as Holgado was, still right tucked up behind him, the number 95. But the top four of Solo have got a little bit of a gap now to David Munoz, who I don't think has taken a long-lap penalty. I've not seen him do that, but it's not fast enough on time between two, so I'm not sure what's going on there with the number 64. He's not going to take this lap either. So with 3 and a bit laps to go, it's Rueda leading the way, the number 95. Can they get into the slipstream? I think they will be able to, but that's a healthy margin for Rueda. We'll see what it is across the line. He's a little bit wide on exit, as is Holgado, but I don't think it matters because you can carry the pace around the outside of that corner. Here we go then, across the line, Rueda, the gap down. And you can see the riders are in the slipstream. Holgado pulls out and takes the lead. Will he lead into turn 1? I think he will, unless Uriarte is going to travel around the outside. No, didn't quite fancy it. As Jose Julian Garcia, who we saw take the long lap penalty, sets the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, it's all too late though for him, I think, to try and make up ground. There he is. He's still in 16th. So what he's done is he's been able to close back down on that leading pack, which makes up the entire point scorers at the moment. He's been able to close that down, but he's only got 3 laps now to try and pick off 15 riders, which is easier said than done, as Holgado gets it all out of shape under braking for turn 5. He still holds it, I think. Oh no, he doesn't. He runs slightly wide and lets Ortola back through into the lead. Uriarte is going to take full advantage of that. He just got a little bit unsettled under braking there to turn 5 and paid the price for it.
Easily done. We've mentioned it before. Into turn 5, it's a tricky corner to get right at the best of times, and when you get it wrong, it can really go wrong. But Holgado keeps it upright, and so does, I think that was Raider getting out of shape. Yes, it was. So Raider keeps it right. He's passed by pole sitter Kelso. It's getting busy here. 2.5 laps to go. It's all going to kick off. Daniel Munoz up the inside on the second of the purple machines. Is that Uriarte going to try and take the lead from Ortola? Yes, it is. What a move down the hill, up the inside. Is Ortola going to fight straight back? No, he's not. This is going to go all the way, though, as David Munoz now moves up the inside of Holgado. It's all kicking off here.
As I mentioned, pass or be passed. That is pretty much the rule, and that's what's happening now. He's being passed, unfortunately. It's Uriarte who gets it wide through turn 13. If you leave the door open, if you even leave the door half open, there's at least 1 or 2 Moto3 riders who'll be prepared to ride straight through it. And in the end, that's exactly what happened to Uriarte. As they come across the line, there'll be just 2 laps to go now. Holgado's been beaten up a little bit on this lap as Ortola leads it across the line. Uriarte, though, comes alongside him. He was just, well, they were dead level as they crossed the line. Nothing between them as they go 5, 6 abreast across the line. Who's going to lead it? It's Kelso, the pole man, who comes back into lead. He's been pretty quiet so far. It looked like he was struggling to make progress. Not any longer.
So then, has Kelso timed this race to perfection? He leads with 2 laps to go. It's very busy down into the tight turn 3 right-hander. But yeah, Joel Kelso then leads from Daniel Holgado and Uriarte. Team MTA, watch on. That's Ortola's team. Where did he cross the line? Oh, he crossed the line first. He's in.
He's off it.
Oh, wow, what a save from Ivan Ortola. It's cost him the race, but he stays on board. That was mightily close.
Oh, a couple of riders are down. That's the
Volpe, the number 77 is down, and it's an MT Foundation bike. Couldn't quite see who that was.
Well, he was running with Nishimura, who was just 2 places ahead of him, so I'd imagine it's him. It's a shame for Nishimura, because he was having a good race. Jose Julian Garcia, by the way, set another fastest lap last time around, and with those incidents, he's onto the back of this leading group now. Confirmation it was Nishimura with Volpe down at turn 5. We can see him moving at the moment, but clearly in a little bit of pain. Here's what happened. Just keep your eye on the back of screen as they come through turn 5, and there they are, both riders pretty much going down together, unfortunately. Again, a very, very common incident down at turn 5. Just a lap and a bit to go then as they come through turn 13. And again, I mean, there's a little bit of a fragment in this leading group now. There are 4 who are away at the front. And look at the gap that Kelso's pulled out.
Kelso then, what's this going to be over line? Looks around about a second. It's at least over half a second. We said, has he timed it to perfection? It looks like he has. We're not sure what's happened. The group has fanned out. So leading on to the lap. It is your pole sitter, Joel Kelso, chasing a maiden victory in the Junior World Championship. He's chased by Holgado and Uriarte, and then there's... How big is that gap? It's a good second back to the gaggle of riders, so it looks like, barring any disasters, the podium places might be sorted out, but anything can happen on the last lap, turn 3. We go, safely negotiated by all 3 riders. Holgado and Uriarte have really closed up on Kelso, who's out of the seat, running out of turn 4, and Holgado's got in, down into turn 5. That was almightily close to a crash from Kelso.
I was just about to say, he took the fastest lap of the race last time around, and what a time to do it at 1:48.9, but he's then almost giving it away with that moment through the fast left-hander. He's still in a good position, though. I mean, he was in a good position as it was, so as Nico Tirol watches on with his man now leading. He's not in a bad position at all here, Kelso. Second in the road as we come into the second half of this final lap. If he can get himself onto the tail of Holgado, does he wait until they come out of the final corner to try and make the move, or does he do the Pedro Acosta move and try and dive past before they get there? Because if you lead out of this final corner, history tells you generally lead over the line.
What a move from Kelso. I think he answered your question there, Luke. He's not going to wait around. He doesn't want to get the slipstream. He wants to be leading out that final corner, but so does Holgado. Not quite this time around. Uriarte is licking his lips in 3rd place. What's going to happen then? 2 corners to negotiate. I thought Kelso had left the door open there, but not quite. Rounding turn 14. The team look anxiously on. Is this going to be a daily win for Joel Kelso? Is it going to be a 5th win of the season for Daniel Holgado? Is Uriarte going to win it? I don't think it looks like from there. So then out of the run from the final corner, it looks like Joel Kelso's got this in the bag, but is Holgado going to use the slipstream to try and get 1st place? I don't think he has. He's not. 5 thousandths of a second. Joel Kelso is a Moto3 Junior World Championship winner. The team are ecstatic. Congratulations to the Australian. What a ride.
Incredible. Uriarte does get the podium in 3rd. Rueda took 4th ahead of David Munoz, and shout out David Alonso, 28th in a 10-lap race, up to 6th.
Whew. Sensational stuff in the Moto3 Junior World Championship as always. Yeah, shout out to David Alonso. That's an absolutely sensational ride. P28 to P6. There's Daniel Holgado, another podium in 2021. He'll extend his championship lead with Ortola, finishes down in 12th place, so not a good race for Ivan Ortola in terms of the championship, down in 12th place. Joel Kelso, though, what a ride from the Australian. A class stand-up wheelie up the hill, deservedly so. That's his 1st win. A maiden pole and a maiden victory. That is what you call a perfect weekend here in Portimao. We were wondering what Daniel Holgado could do from 9th on the grid. After the restart, he's answered our questions. He can claw his way back through the pack, get him to prime position. Wasn't quite the race win, but it wasn't far off. 5 thousandths at the line. But as you can see, he'll be more than pleased with a 2nd place. 20 more points in the bag. And Daniel Holgado really is running away with this 2021 Junior Moto3 World Championship. Copy and paste from the Kelso stand-up wheelie. Class stuff here from the top 2 podium finishers. There's Joel Kelso getting congratulated by a couple of the riders. Sensational scenes, absolutely sensational. It always is very good racing in the Moto3 Junior World Championship. Of course, we send our best wishes to Harrison Voigt after the red flag. Fingers crossed the Australian's okay. We'll bring you any latest information we have on Voigt's condition when we get it. We've not had any information yet, so apologies for that. This is compatriot Joel Kelso who takes the win, the number 66. He'll roll into Parc Fermé for the 1st time in this class. And he'll be absolutely buzzing with that. Seems that Grand Prix experience in Germany and the Netherlands. Finished 17th at the Sachsenring and then got a penalty. A pit lane start penalty in the Netherlands. So he couldn't quite display what he could really show, but he's really showing what he can do today in Portimao. Has Joel Kelso. A fantastic weekend. We said before that he's shown superior pace. 0.3 seconds was his qualifying advantage. He was top in warm-up, and now he's on the top step of the podium on Sunday afternoon. Top work from the Australian. Here comes Daniel Holgado. It might not be the win, but 20 points is all that Daniel Holgado needs at this stage. He's running away with the championship. Congratulations in order for race winner Joel Kelso. As I say, 5 thousandths of a second, splitting them across the line. Absolutely nothing to choose between the top two, and Marcus Ariati in third place wasn't far off either. There he is. Third place, less than 2 tenths off the win.